Today is August 8th, and now it's time for a Buoy 10 update. And wow, what a difference a day makes. We intended to go out to the ocean. That didn't happen. Woke up this morning and the wind was blowing pretty strong out of the northwest. Had a couple friends start to nose out there before we left the dock, and they both turned around and they were in bigger boats. So guess what? We fished the river today. A little unexpected. I didn't have too much time to plan, prepare, but I'll tell you what, it's just like riding a bike. It was pretty straightforward going out there, looking at the tides, going, okay, I need to start here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, just like we have for the last decade plus. And it paid off. We got all of our kings today. We lost a couple coho, but there were a lot fewer coho, which is pretty common. This time of the tides, these tides that we're seeing now are more Chinook tides as opposed to the coho tides, which are bigger. So as the tides get smaller, more Chinook show up. As the tides grow here, probably in about a week and a half, we should hopefully see a bunch more coho show up. So what happened today? We started out, I just went right towards the same water temperature and hoping that the same salinity was there from last year, same numbers. And we found that over on the Washington side in probably right around the church hole. And I just wanted to drop in the deep water and just trying to get my legs under me and get a feel for what the current's doing and what the fish are doing, what I'm seeing. And there is an obscene amount of bait. There's a lot of grass, and the wind was howling out of the northwest, so we were crabbing the whole time. But it was a tough first couple passes because we were already going, at least out in the deep water, already going about 5-6 miles an hour. So that made it tough, but that just means that come this weekend, we should have a high slack right near daylight, so there should be a pretty good bite. From there, we just kind of bounced around. We ended up finding some fish in a little bit shallower where the current wasn't moving quite as fast. And from there, man, there was a little good bite, but what it was is like there was just a good pocket of fish that everyone just kept running laps on. And once that pocket stopped biting or moved on, that was it. It was like maybe 2-3 laps on them. And I think we only got like one bite out of that. And I was getting really frustrated because I was seeing enough fish get caught that I felt like I should have been getting into a bit more action. It wasn't happening for me. So we kept on plugging away, working our way down the sands, down in front of Chinook and Waco. Nothing really happening. As soon as the current slowed up, it's like, okay, they're usually out here in 30 to 40 feet of water, kind of by ourselves, but let's see what happens. Water temp looks okay. It's a little bit warmer this year than last year where I was finding the fish. And last year on mine, again, everybody's unit is different. So last year on mine, I was looking for 68.5. And this year, I was finding them so far this year, today, my first day in the river, I'm finding them in that 70-ish water temp. And during the outgoing tide, my unit is showing as much as 72.5, which this unit runs probably about 2.5 degrees warm, so it'll be in the 70-degree range. But once we found them there at the bottom of the tide, when the current slowed up, we're only doing 2 miles an hour downhill, we started getting bit. I started out with a couple of painted blades because it was super foggy with that marine layer. We got one bite on it, and it was just a small Chinook that we kicked back. And after that, we just started picking them off during the bottom of the tide, working our way down towards marker 1. There was good bites pretty much from 10 on up to the bridge on the income, and then also on the Oregon side from like 14 up towards Hammond. And right now it is 2 o'clock, 2:15. So I'm guessing that the bite is starting to continue and push upstream. High slack isn't going to be until 5-6 o'clock tonight. And so those fish and the anglers out there will just keep following up the fish up as the tide pushes them upstream. So that was kind of how today went. We got all of our kings, happy about that. Saw enough fish on the active target that there's going to be a good push of fish here this weekend. It's nothing crazy, but obviously enough for people to catch fish, which is great. It's not a bad start to the season, and as the tides get smaller, hopefully we see a few more. Now I'm going to show you something here real quick. I know I mentioned it in last year's updates, but pop it off here real quick. All right, so on my spinners, I know I mentioned it last year, and I'm not going to tell you that this makes a difference or not. I can't tell you one way or the other, but it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, and I think it helps. Here's what I always say about scent. I don't know if it really helps. All I know is that if it hurts or not. If we get bit on, say, garlic, like, well, I know that that doesn't hurt, so maybe keep trying it. Same is true with this deal. I like to add a bead in the middle, and I kind of feel like it creates a target for these fish to key in on. Let's see if I can show that to you guys here. There you go. See that middle bead? A little bit different on both of them. This one here is just a little bit darker, more neon, and that one there is just bright blue. So I just like to add a little contrasting bead in the middle, and I feel like it gives them a target and enough contrast to give them something to key in on. Today we got bit on Mexican hat and Bronco equally. I had those painted blades out like I mentioned, but it was just a quick slap and tickle, and then that was it. And I was really surprised by that, because usually during that rain layer morning fog, painted blades do really good, but it didn't happen today. So today ended up being my first day in the river. I thought it was going to be tomorrow, but here we are. My plan for tomorrow is I'm going to try and get started around daylight. I'm hoping that the current won't be ripping quite as hard as it was this morning, and I'll probably start around 6-ish. And actually the Oregon side looked really good this morning up by the tankers. It looked really good, so I might give that a quick swipe before I head over to the Washington side, but I don't know, we'll see. It's always, every single day is different. I say that all the time. So I need to pull the boat out into the river, see what the water temp is, what my graph looks like, and then decide if I need to move up or down river. What I did notice this year, I mentioned the water temp's a little warmer. There's a lot of red tide out there, a lot of red tide, especially on the income where that cold water hits the warm river water. There's a lot of red tide. The sea lions and seals are really bad. We almost lost a couple fish to them, even in the net. It was a lot, but other than that, I'm still kind of learning, obviously, because today is my first day out there. But like I mentioned, it's like riding a bike. We kind of made the assumption that they were going to be at certain parts of the river during certain parts of the tide, and it worked out. We got all of our kings. Can't complain. And it didn't seem to matter if they had a hoochie or not. But Bronco, Mexican hat, like I mentioned in my very first update, I'm trying to keep it simple. These are your two most consistent spinner colors out there, so why not run them? All right, guys. Time for me to type some more lures and get ready for tomorrow's trip and see how the river fishes. I'm pretty pumped for the rest of the weekend. We should see a pretty good push of fish. Fingers crossed, as always. All right, guys. Later. Bye.